Okay, right. So I'll open the questions. Let's talk about buses and taxis. So how often do you take a taxi?
I take a taxi very rarely. Uh, it's not very often. Unless I'm on a trip in the city, usually I don't take a taxi.
Okay. So when was the last time you took a taxi?
Well, I went up to Toronto a few years ago. I think it was 2015 or somewhere around there. And I got into a taxi to go to my hotel because I had gone to a Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto, which was really neat. And it was an interesting experience.
Mhm. All right. Do you generally like traveling by taxi?
Sometimes. It depends on what kind of taxi driver you get. Because I've had a lot of taxi drivers who are very obnoxious, or they want to talk about really uncomfortable things. It's funny because, it's just like I want to take a taxi somewhere. I don't want to have a big political discussion about, things that are controversial, but oftentimes you'll run into that.
All
So it
right.
can be very
Are ta
uncomfortable sometimes.
uh-huh.
Mhm.
So are taxis expensive where you live?
They're, yeah, they are more expensive because you have to call up a taxi, and they don't have very many where I live because I live in a suburban location. So usually if you're in a city, taxis will be very cheap because there are a lot of people in a city, but in a suburban neighborhood, there are very few people around, so it's very expensive.
Okay. How often do you take the bus?
Not very often. I've taken it a few times to work, but I have not taken it in the last few years.
hmm Okay. And what do you do when you're on a bus?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Sure. What do you do when you are on a bus?
I try to just mind my own business and usually read or use my tablet and look at some books or movies or whatever it may be, but I don't usually like to talk with people on the bus.
Okay. How good is the bus service where you live?
It's honestly not very good. Um, we don't have a lot of money put towards buses because not many people use it. So we have old buses that are broken down and, they're in a state of disrepair. So it's just not a, optimal experience, I guess you could say.
All right. So are tea and coffee popular? So let's talk about tea and coffee. That's another topic.
Okay, yeah.
Are tea and coffee popular in your country?
They are very popular, but I would say coffee is probably the most popular here, more so than tea.
All right. And do you personally like tea and coffee?
Oh, yeah, I absolutely love tea and coffee.
Mhm. Do you often drink coffee and tea?
I drink coffee every day. I have a coffee maker called the Mocha Master. It's a Dutch-made coffee maker. And I drink tea maybe once a week, maybe twice a week. It's not very often.
All right. And do you usually offer tea or coffee when you have guests?
Coffee. I usually offer coffee. I've never had a guest who's come and wanted tea, ever.
Mhm.
But,
All right. Mhm. Okay,
yeah,
so thank you, Jack. I will ask you to
no problem.
give a 2-minute monologue later during the class. Now I need to talk to some other students. Thanks a lot.
Okay, no problem.
So I will turn off the sound. Okay, so hello, Natalia, Vitaly, and Olga. Um, we've been talking with Jack. He is from the United States. He's a native speaker, and we were doing part one of the IELTS speaking exam. So let me remind you a bit that um, the IELTS speaking exam consists of three basic parts. So the first part is the introduction and interview, where the examiner asks you questions about yourself, and they are questions on quite familiar topics. So as you have heard, these questions are not very difficult. They are on quite familiar topics that shouldn't be difficult for you to. It shouldn't be difficult for you to think of ideas of what to say. So it's like tea and coffee, or buses and taxi, things like that. So they can ask you something like, do you work or are you a student? Do you live in a house or a flat? But when you answer, it's better to answer not just with short answers, such as, do you like music? Yes, I like music. Because it doesn't demonstrate your language potential. It doesn't show the examiner what kind of words, expressions, idioms, phrasal verbs you know, and which grammar constructions you know. So it's better to answer with more or less complicated answers with about 3 sentences. Okay, so with each of you now I'm going to practice these part 1 questions. I will ask you a question, you will try to answer, and then I will give you some possible recommendations of how you can improve your answer. Then part 2 is a monologue. You receive a cue card. Well, for example, something like this. I will show it to you on the screen. Like this, for instance, describe a complaint you made and you were satisfied with the results. You should say when it happened, who you complained to, what you complained about, why you were satisfied with the results. So you will have 1 minute to prepare, and you are supposed to speak for about 2 minutes after that. Okay? So all the questions that we are going to practice today and during the course are real exam questions that are used in IELTS all over the world. So these are real questions that they ask you at the exam. Every season they change. So the questions that we are going to discuss during this course will be used from January till April. So how do I know these questions? The fact is that millions of people around the world take the exam, and they report what kind of questions they were asked. So if somebody doesn't remember all the questions, then another candidate remembers the questions, and they post them on the internet. So when you collect them from several sources, you have the whole collection. And it makes it much easier to prepare for the exam. You know exactly what questions you're going to have, and you can learn some ideas and vocabulary for each question, so your score will be higher as a result. So part 1, they are simple questions. Part 2, it's a monologue where you have to speak for 2 minutes. And in part 3, there are going to be some questions related to what you have been talking about. For instance, if your card was about complaints, then most likely the examiner will ask you also questions about complaining. Well, I can tell you exactly, if you have part 2 question, then this season they will ask you, what products or services do people in your country like to complain about? Or would you buy things in the shops which you complained about before? Or do you think customers' complaints will improve products or services? So there are about 3 more questions on this topic that they ask you. It's just an example. So as for these questions, you need to give some details already, and maybe they should consist of about 5 sentences. But the most important thing is not how many sentences you produce, but what kind of language you use, right? If you have any questions, by the way, feel free to write your questions in the chat. There are 4 evaluation criteria when you take the IELTS speaking exam. Just by the way, the whole exam takes from 11 to 15 minutes. And in the first part, it lasts 4 to 5 minutes, and they ask you like a number of questions. Like I asked Jack today, questions from 2 topics. They were buses and taxis and coffee and tea. Okay, so then the card, it takes you 1 minute to prepare and 2 minutes to speak. So basically it takes 3 minutes, and it also takes some time for the examiner to explain what you need to do. And part 3, that's also about 4 to 5 minutes. Right. So how does the examiner evaluate your speaking? There are 4 evaluation criteria. Each of them well, they 25% of your the first one, it's fluency and coherence. So your speaking should be coherent, means you need to connect your sentences using special linking devices such as moreover, furthermore, to sum up. You should introduce your ideas like or contrast your ideas, however, and your speaking should be fluent. It means you shouldn't stop. You shouldn't pause and say, I went to the cinema yesterday. So if you speak like this, it means you hesitate. And your fluency mark will go down because it's obvious that you're thinking not for ideas, but for vocabulary or grammar. So try to speak non-stop, and then your fluency and coherence mark or fluency mark will be quite high. Then the second evaluation criterion, that's lexical resource. Well, most of you, as far as I remember, are aiming at band 7 in your speaking. So in order to achieve band 7, you need to use some uncommon, well, maybe less common lexical items. It means words that are not used very often. And for each of the topics, I'm going to offer some uncommon words for this topic. Well, for example, they will ask you, what kind of an example can I be? Well, all right, what kind of food do you prefer? And you can say, well, I'm really fond of meat dishes, and I'm really keen on venison. Venison, that's deer meat. It's you hardly ever use this word in real life, but if you manage to use this in a natural way in your answer, it will be very beneficial for your lexical resource. Another thing you can do is to use idioms, idiomatic expressions, or phrasal verbs. For example, they can ask you, have you ever bought shoes online? And you can say, well, not only is there, well, I try to stay away from this whenever I can, because not only is the refund policy unclear to me, but I'm also afraid of buying a pig in a poke. To buy a pig in a poke, that's an idiom. Купить кота в мешке. And then if you use this, it demonstrates that your lexical resource is very high. Okay, so the next evaluation criterion, that's grammatical range and accuracy. Accuracy, it means that you need to speak correctly without mistakes. Well, if you have some mistakes, it's okay for band 7. If you need 8 and 9, then there should be no mistakes. But what's even more important, it's how many different grammar constructions you use and different sentence types you use. So grammatical range. For each of your topics, especially in part 2, I will be offering you grammar constructions, advanced level grammar constructions, which you can use to increase this evaluation criterion. Okay, so try not to use only present simple or present continuous. You can also use passive voice, comparative sentences, conditional sentences, well, inversion, like not only did I blah, 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 but also little did I know that, and so on. Under no circumstances should we. So inversion, this is when the verb goes before the subject. And the last criterion, this is pronunciation. It is okay to have an accent. Basically, everyone has an accent. But what's important here is that your speaking, your pronunciation should not impede communication. It means that it should not stop the examiner from understanding you. If you have some accent that doesn't let the examiner understand you clearly, then your mark will go down. And also, you need to use proper intonation. Okay, so that's basically a small introduction into the speaking part. Now, one by one, well, I asked each of you to prepare a small monologue, and we're going to do it in part 2, so when we practice our part 2 questions. But first of all, I'm going to ask each of you some part 1 questions. Okay, So let's start with Natalia. Natalia, I'm going to turn on the microphone for you. Okay. And I think let's talk about birds. This is a new topic in IELTS speaking, part 1. Can you please try to say something so that we can hear you? Okay. So while we're waiting for Natalia, Vitaly, I'm going to turn on the microphone for you.
Okay.
Whoever's the first. Okay, Natalia, yes, we can hear you. So let's talk. Yes, let's talk about birds. Before we start talking about birds, what parts of birds can you name in English? So we need some specific vocabulary. We need some really specific expressions. Try to name. By the way, it's a question for anyone. Jack, also for you. Try to write in the chat as many parts of birds as you can in English. Okay, and Natalia, you can say them, like крылья. You can.
Wings, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely
Back,
right.
or no, I'm not sure.
Maybe beak or bill. That's probably what you mean. Okay. Any other? All right. So anyone, Olga, Vitaly, you can also write any parts of birds or any words associated with birds. For example, клетка, жердочка в клетке. Whatever you know in English. Гнездо.
Cage, nest.
Okay.
Nest. Cage.
Okay. Breast. Breast certainly is a part of a bird, but of people as well. Okay.
Egg.
So, all right.
I have met a baby bird. No, I don't remember it.
Nestling. That's a nestling. Okay. So here are my examples of vocabulary vocabulary items that you can use to impress the examiners. You know, really uncommon words like, well, wings and feathers. They're quite common. Then claws and talons. So talons are sharper than claws, and well, birds like hawk or birds of prey usually have talons. Then webbed feet, okay, a crest. That's, well, it's not very common, and it's mostly can be used to talk about a rooster or a cockerel.
Sorry, could you print that?
Oh, but haven't I copied them in the chat? I think I've already posted them in the chat.
Yes. Okay.
You can just scroll. Okay. You can just scroll down. Also, at the end of the lesson, I will send you a file with all these words, so you'll be able to see them. Okay. A beak or a bill, a tail, a nest, a cage, and perch. Perch, okay. Then there are 3 types of birds that, certainly there are many more, but the most common ones of them are. So they are перелетные птицы, migratory birds, хищные птицы, birds of prey, певчие птицы, songbirds, or
tropic birds.
They are warblers. Right. And now let's brainstorm types of birds that you can name. I'm going to copy some simple, well, more or less common types of birds, like eagle, owl, lark, javaronok, lark, pigeon, duck, chicken, and hen. They're quite common. But what
nightingale.
Right, nightingale. That's a kind of a songbird or warbler. Right, very good. Any other?
Let it be kiwi, penguin.
Okay.
Woodpecker.
Anybody else? Woodpecker, very nice. A crow, blue jay, cardinal, and dodo. Okay. Dove. Okay.
Crow.
Yes, dove. Crane. Yes, that's a good one. Sparrow. Right. They're quite common in our city. There will be a question. Right. So here are my examples of penguin. Yes. My examples of less common vocabulary in the chat. They are with translations. Of course, you don't need, there are about 10 of them, and you don't need to memorize all of them. Just 3 or 4 birds will impress the examiner. For instance, if you know how to say teterев in English, that would be really beneficial for your score. So that's grouse, teterев, куропатка, partridge, перепел, quail. For instance, well, some people, they like quail eggs, перепелиные яйца. Then stork, aist, crane. We've already mentioned that. Журавль, цапля, starling, скворец, сорока, magpie, зяблик, finch. Okay, and Olga also wrote pigeon. Yes, dove and pigeon. In Russian, we have one word. But for example, yes, Jack, maybe you'll be surprised that in Russian, dove and pigeon, that's the same word. Because from what I heard, well, my American friends, they told me that a dove, this is like a white bird. It's a symbol of something clean, symbol of love, maybe. And pigeon, this is like a gray, or I don't know, some kind of darker bird that actually craps on the ground and things like that. Yes, symbol of peace, right? So, but in Russian, it's just one word. Okay, right. So, Natalia, I'm going to ask you some questions. How do you feel about birds? How do you feel, means like, what do you think? Do you like them? How do you feel about birds?
Well, honestly, I'm rather
Okay.
I don't like them because I think they make too much noise, and if people keep birds at home, they disturb you by singing early in the morning, and they are rather they make much rubbish, dust, and what is more, I can't take them into my hands, just see, and that's all. I prefer keeping cats or dogs as a pet.
As pets, okay. And how do people in your country feel about birds?
I think that 1/3 of pets are birds. Mostly they are budgies. I think that people who have different kinds of allergy prefer keeping birds at home because they don't need much space, and they are not bad for health.
Okay, they can also transfer infections, right? Birds can transfer infections.
Okay. So, keeping birds at home has some advantages and disadvantages. Speaking about advantages, we should say about the situation that they don't need much space, and as for the disadvantages, they can bring different kinds of infections.
Okay, right. Or transfer, you can say transfer infections. Are there many birds near your home?
No, not really, because I live in big city, and it's the climate in my region is rather hot in summer and cold in winter, something about minus 30 degrees. So not many people can stand the climate like that. Something like sparrows, crows, and maybe pigeons. That's all.
Mhm. And seagulls, especially near garbage containers or near the sea. Yes, there are seagulls. Check.
I forgot, what's the English for резко континентальный?
So it's, well, I would say abruptly continental,
Severe.
or strong continental climate. Severe, that's a good one, yes. That's even better.
Okay.
Severe continental climate. Yes, you can say that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So have you seen many kinds of birds?
Several years ago, when we were traveling, when we were rowing along the river in the Urals, I've heard and seen a lot of birds in spring, and I was really impressed by their singing.
Okay. Here, it would be really, really beneficial for your lexical resource if you could use some words. For instance, you can say, my favorite ones are hummingbirds, flamingos, and robins, though I also like finches, pigeons, and woodpeckers. So maybe 3 or 4 birds would be, well, if you use them here, your lexical resource would go up, because this is a really nice well, opportunity to use them. Okay. Do any birds have any particular significance in your country?
I'm not really keen in birds, but as far as I know, there are a lot of birds that are mentioned in a red book.
Okay, and you can say they are on the brink of extinction, на грани исчезновения. I've written this in the chat, yes? They are on the brink of extinction. It's even better. Endangered species, yes, thank you, Jack. It's really nice. And Natalia, does your country have a national bird?
Oh, well, as far as I know, no, not special a bird, but a pigeon is a symbol of peace, but I think that it's a symbol all over the world.
Yes, but it's a dove, it's not a pigeon. Dove is probably the symbol of... okay.
And what is the difference between pigeon and dove?
Okay, so pigeon, it's usually a dark bird and it's smaller, and this is the kind of bird that you can see, for example, in squares, and people feed them. And dove, it's white. Usually, it's white, symbol of peace. Okay. You can also say that that the national bird of Russia can be considered the two-headed eagle that you can see on the coat of arms here, or on our coins, at the back of our coins, right? If you want, you can also mention the Zhar Ptitsa, the firebird. So I've written this sample answer in the chat. You will receive this as a file after the lesson. So Russia doesn't recognize any bird as an important national symbol. However, one of the recognized national symbols might be the firebird, a mythical bird whose feathers burn bright and hot and are made of gold. The firebird motif is often found in Russian traditional arts, crafts, and calligraphy. it has become popular as one of the cultural symbols of Russia. It was featured as an emblem of 2009 Moscow Eurovision and also is a recurring feature of Russian Olympic team uniforms. Okay, Jack also wrote that our national bird is the bald eagle. It's an incredibly important symbol in our nation. So now, yes, I heard about it. So if you haven't, then now you know. Okay, and there are a couple of more questions on this topic. Do you think birds should be protected?
Yes, I strongly agree that we should take care of them because they are a part of ecosystem, and the 21st century is known as a century when we should really be careful about ecological situation on the earth.
Okay. You can also mention that birds are pollinators, опылители. It will really express the examiner that you know what it is. Yes, so you can also mention biodiversity, биологическое разнообразие видов. Okay, right. And it's the last question. It's not my question. It's an IELTS question, so don't judge me. How can birds be protected? I don't have any clever ideas about it. So your content is not.
I think that the easiest way how we can take care of birds is to feed them in winter, because my little daughter told me that only 2 birds from 10 are alive after the winter. So I think that the easiest way and everybody can follow it without paying much attention and money.
Okay, right. So if you actually need to say something, you can use these ideas, or you can mention something else. Like they're not very clever ideas, but what I've written in the chat is, you can avoid using plastic bags and bottles, which can kill birds if they mistakenly eat them. And what's more, people should drive slowly and keep pets indoors and make windows visible for birds to prevent bird collision with them. And you can also provide birds with fresh water. And so if you are for bird protection, okay. But
maybe
you have to say something.
maybe we shouldn't destroy their nests.
All right. Yes, that's also very nice.
And never take out eggs when we are on picnics.
Yes. So there are two.
When we are on picnics.
All right. Do people in your country like keeping pet birds?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Do people in your country like pet birds?
As far as I know, yes. Most of my friends have budgies, and children really like feed them and take care of them, and they don't need much time to take care of them.
Right. And have you ever kept a pet bird yourself?
Yes, that was nearly 20 years ago, maybe more. Then I was a schoolgirl, and my friend presented me the bird on my birthday, and I was really proud to have it, to got it. But unfortunately, as far as I remember, I tried to teach him to speak, but I was failed.
I failed. Right, you also say for my birthday, not on, but for. All right. Okay, so thank you, Natalia. Did you prepare a part 2 speaking topic for today?
Yes, that was activity that helps us to be healthy.
Okay, activity that helps you to be healthy. Okay. All right. Right. So we'll talk to you in the next round. I will turn off the microphone, or you can turn it off for yourself. Okay. So Vitaly, I'm going to turn on the microphone for you, and we're going to talk about also a new topic this season, and this topic is noises. Okay. So while turning on the microphone for Vitaly, yes, Vitaly, can you say something?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so let's brainstorm some some natural sounds that you know in English. This is quite a difficult topic. So let's think about some sounds that are made by water, such as rain, or maybe some streams, by wind or by animals. So Vitaly, you can say them if you can, and others can write these words in the chat.
Sound of water.
Pattering of
sound of water.
Okay, so the sound of water. Here's an example of what I have written in the chat. The pattering of rain on some kinds of surfaces. Then the pitter-patter of rain. Okay, and what? So there's pattering of rain on what? There can be some pattering of rain on, or let's say, on some vegetation. That can be on, in particular, it can be fronds, gardens, or lawn gazon, or maybe on the window pane, right? Then it can be like, for instance, you can say, I love listening to rain pattering on a tin roof. Or for example, you can say, I like to hear the rain pattering on corrugated iron roof, right? Okay, so Vitaly, how does it make you feel when you are at home, you are in the comfort of your own home, and you can hear the pitter-patter of rain outside?
I'm talking about this question. It's difficult question for me about my feeling. I suppose it's make me crazy because I don't like rain, and in this time when I have these calls, I feel no good, and also as I said, the pitter of rain make me crazy. Yeah, drive me crazy. Rain make me crazy.
Drives me crazy, yes. Or for some people, this is a soothing, relaxing, calming, or soporific feeling. So soporific is another good word. Other types of sound is distant rumble of thunder. That's what you can say. Далекие раскаты грома. Or you can say, for example, firewood crackling in the hearth. Also some uncommon vocabulary. So firewood, I'm writing this in the chat for you. So firewood crackling in the hearth. So when you're in the comfort of your home, there is a fireplace and there is firewood crackling in the hearth. How does it make you feel?
Could you repeat it, please? Because no. could you repeat, please?
Yes. So when you hear firewood crackling in the hearth, how does it make you feel? I wrote some expressions like cozy, уютный, warm, safe, or you can use an idiom, as snug as a bug in a rug, тепло, как клопу в ковре. So it's like it's very comfortable. It makes me feel as snug as a bug in a rug. I don't know if you use this in American English, so it would be interesting to know, to ask Jack if you use it, but I heard it from a British person.
Okay, if
Here, when you describe a sound in English, such as bang, drip, drop, roar, oink.
If I have time, I usually visit my grandmother who lives in a village, and also if I have time, I usually like sitting close firewood. Firewood, and I like this, and I feel safe and also warm when firewood crackling in the hearth.
Firewood is crackling in the hearth. If you make a sentence like this, it should be when firewood is crackling in the hearth. But if you say when I hear firewood crackling, you don't even say is. But in your sentence, you also need to add is. Okay. So let's have a look at what Jack has written. There are some, well, kind of interjections, you can call them, or onomatopoeia, right? So there was like bang. This is when there is, well, some sound. Drip, drop. Roar. This is what, for example, a lion does. Yes, the lion roars. Рычит. Oink. It's like oink, oink. This is what a pig says. Hru, hru, oink, oink. And there is a special verb also to grunt. So a pig grunts. Well, if you find a way to use this during the exam, you can just meow. That's yes. That's what a cat does, right? So just a few other examples. When there is, well, yes, you can listen to the firewood crackling in the hearth when there is inclement weather outside. Yes. Other types of sounds, of natural sounds that you might think of, that you might mention. You don't need to memorize them all, of course, because this is just one of the 32 topics. Just 3 or 4 of these tricky expressions would be nice. Babbling brook or babbling creek, or a stream purling over pebbles, or a stream gurgling over pebbles. That's what you could say. Also, we were talking about birds, and you might mention sounds that birds make, such as twittering of birds, chirping of birds, or warbling of birds. And here you might also mention songbirds, such as blackbird, дрозд, nightingale, соловей, or maybe also robin, малиновка. Малиновки заслышу голосок. It's like this. So we don't come across this bird very often. Okay, right. So Vitaly, what natural sounds do you like most?
Natural sound. Talking about natural sounds, I believe that those singing is comfortable for me. I mean, sound and help me to relax. And also, I'm fond of water sound, sound of water, because sound when I hear sound of water, I start to relax and to create in my mind dreams and so on. I start dreaming, deeply dreaming. Deeply dreaming.
Okay, right. I've also added some other expressions in the chat, like the howling of the wind or croaking of frogs in the stream, or if you want to take the examiner by the throat, you can say croaking of frogs in the bayou, заболоченный рукав руки. It's one example of a really uncommon vocabulary, but you use it very natural in a very natural way. Some other natural sounds that could be mentioned here: стрекотание кузнечиков или сверчков. So it's the chirring of crickets or cicadas. Then owl hooting, and you can say that these sounds are harmonious and melodious. And well, some of the sounds that you mention, you can also say that they induce the feeling of well-being. Okay, so the next question, while Vitaly is answering it, please write your variants of answer to this question, because there are a lot of possible answers. So, Vitaly, what sounds do you dislike?
I believe that a lot of people don't like sound of dog, because this sounds makes a lot of people crazy, drives a lot of people crazy, and also me, but talking about dogs, I like dogs, and I have a dog, and I constantly, regularly hear sound dogs. But if you hear a sound of dog, sound of dog when dog is dog not you, you will be crazy, and you feel danger. You feel danger, and you feel danger and all. But I want to say that about all roar sounds, different animals roar, because roar drives a lot of people crazy, and they started to feel danger. Danger feel.
All right, yes. So you could also, while you're saying the noises, you could say to bark, that's lie, or small dogs, that's dog yapping, тявкать. Right. So Natalia mentioned door creaking. Yes, certainly. This is a kind of sound that makes you cringe. Then Olga, children crying. Yes, when children are crying. Scratching. The spelling is different. Okay. Right. So Vitaly, what sounds remind you of your childhood?
It's a difficult question for me, but about my childhood, I think a sound of guitar, because my father constantly was playing guitar, and when I go to bed, he usually played played this instrument, and also talking about my childhood, I had a cat, and also I constantly heard a sound of cat.
Okay, you could also mention that some sounds of toys, such as rattles, or when you hear some lullabies from your childhood, it also that puts you in mind of your own childhood. Okay, what kind of music do you like the most?
Talking about music, I also now constantly play the guitar, and twice a week I visit my private teacher the guitar, and also when I was younger, I visit private school of music, and I have finished it, and now I constantly, if I have time, I usually visit classical music concert because it make me relax and also rechange my mind. Yes, talking about music, absolutely, I like classical music. Yes, talking about music, absolutely, I like classical music.
Okay, so try to avoid saying "and" in the beginning of the sentence all the time, because your coherence mark will go down if you speak like this at the exam. So every time you introduce a new idea, try to use a special linking device, and each time it should be a new one. I have written some of them in the chat. You can say, on top of that, I finished a music school. In addition, I'm fond of playing the guitar. What's more, apart from that, furthermore, moreover, well, apart, it's different spelling.
Okay.
Apart from that. Okay, so because you begin your sentence with "and" all the time, try to start your sentences. Maybe next time just put this on a piece of paper in front of you, and each time try to use them. Did your school have a quiet place for studying? Did your school have any quiet places for studying?
School had quiet places of study. I may be talking about this question.
Yes.
Absolutely, I fond of library to relaxing and rechange my mind. Maybe it's the best. It was the best place of the school. Library because in that time we don't have computer, and constantly was playing in different games. For instance, football, basketball, and other team games. And when you have, and when you want to relax, absolutely, I'm sure library was the best place to relax. And also, as I said, I was visiting music school, and these lessons helped me relax. Yeah, and lesson talking about this lesson,
places.
all places also were very quiet. Also were very quiet.
Okay. What are some of the places where there is a lot of noise?
Absolutely, I am sure a lot of noise. There are a lot of noise in different concerts, rock concerts and rock and roll concerts. And talking about my country, about means when you come back from work, you have to traffic jam. You have a traffic jam, and constantly you have a lot of noise, signal and sound of water.
Okay.
Sound of water.
All right. And do you mind noises? I mean, do any noises bother you?
Bother you? Звуки разума?
Спокойно доставляют неудобства. Bother.
Звуки разума?
Доставляют неудобства. Bother. Distress is disturb.
Disturb. Okay.
Do any noises bother you?
Yes, because a lot of noise disturb your mind, and also you cannot opportunity to relax, to concentrate, and talking about me, I don't like noises because my productive constantly is increase.
Okay, and the last question. What?
Because is
All right. I'm afraid I couldn't. So, what type of noise?
In my life, I have a lot of noise. As I said, when I came back from my work, I constantly hear noise of auto and different signals, and also maybe absolutely, I'm sure I hear constantly noise from condition when was summer. The sound of conditioner drives me crazy. Absolutely, I'm sure, and sound of conditioner about and in my daily other I don't have noise. Other I don't have noise.
Okay, so it's called air conditioner. Right, thank you, Vitaly. Have you prepared a part 2 card for today?
Activity house for house. Describe an activity that
okay, so
you
it's the same as
do.
Natalia. Right, you can also
describe an activity that you do.
All right, good. So I'll come back to you in the next round. Thank you. So now, Olga, I'm going to ask you some questions about the sky and maybe stars also. Okay, So try to say something. I'm turning on the microphone for you, so the system is going to offer you to, well, just to turn on the microphone. Okay, once again, I will try. So, Olga, can you try to say something? Okay, so we seem to have some problems. Jack, can I ask you to answer some more questions about the sky and the stars? I'll try to turn on the microphone for you.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Hello?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay.
Okay, yes, can you hear me?
Okay.
All right, so Jack, do you like to watch the sky?
Yes, I do like to watch the sky often. Yes, I do like.
Okay, what is the sky like at night in your hometown?
In my hometown, usually it's very clear and you can see most of the stars because we do not have a lot of light pollution here, which usually prevents you from seeing the stars. Because we do not, which usually prevents you from seeing the stars.
Okay. And do you like to watch the stars?
Yeah, I would say I do like to watch the stars. It's a very moving and magical thing, I guess you could say. And there's nothing in nature really like it. And there's nothing in nature really like it.
Okay. So, have you ever taken a course about stars?
No, I have never taken a astrology course or anything like that. I've never really been interested in studying it, so I've never considered it. But maybe if I become older and I want something new to do, I would consider taking a class on that.
Okay. So, is it important to study stars in general?
Yeah, I think it's very important to study stars because it allows us to better understand nature and better understand our world and how different things function. And we can use that information to figure out if there might be life on other planets or something like that.
Okay. What's your favorite star?
I don't think I really have a favorite star. I don't really know much about it, so I wouldn't say I have a favorite star or a least favorite star. I have a favorite star or a least favorite star.
Okay, so I will just add some information here because it's very difficult for a non-native speaker to talk about stars because most likely you do not know the names of stars. So, okay, Olga. For example, you can mention the big dog or Canis Major. You can also mention Polaris or the North Star, or, well, Sirius. Like this, I will copy this name for you. Or you can just talk about the sun, and because actually it's also a star. It's the most important source of energy for life on Earth, and we wouldn't be here if there weren't the sun. If there weren't the sun. Okay, so that's it with stars. I will also open another. Just 1 second. All right. So let's talk about shoes. Do you like to wear shoes that are comfortable or good looking?
Yes, I usually when I wear shoes, the primary thing I look for is comfort. Usually wear shoes.
Okay. Why do some people have too many shoes?
I think that people they buy one pair of shoes and they're happy, but they think they'll be happier with 2 pair of shoes, and then 2 pair of shoes turns into 3 pair of shoes, and it just continues on until people have like hundreds of pairs of shoes. Like a few of my friends that I know, they never really like shoes, but they just do it because sometimes they feel social pressure that they have to be fashionable or whatnot.
All right. So, and have you ever bought shoes online?
Yeah, I bought a pair of shoes online last week. I ordered them from the United Kingdom and they were on sale about half off, and they should be arriving in a few days. And usually when I buy shoes online, I do not have issues, but there have been a few instances where I've had serious issues with my shoes. They're too big, they're too small, whatever it may be. Too big, whatever.
Okay. So when you buy shoes online, are you afraid of buying a pig in a poke?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yes. When you buy something online, are you afraid of buying a pig in a poke?
What's the fig poke? Is that like something that's fake? What's the fig poke? Is that like?
Yes, that's a British idiom that means that you buy something unexpected. So, for instance, you buy something, but then you open the poke, the bag, and there is a pig inside. In Russian, we have a similar expression to buy a cat in a bag. Купить кота в мешке. Okay.
Okay.
So it might be, for instance, it might be the wrong color, not the advertised color, or it might be shoddy workmanship.
There's still an audio delay, so just I'll try to respond. But usually online, I don't have issues with buying stuff that isn't accurate. Usually I go to stores that are reputable and they have good quality, they have good stock, but there have been a few times where I've gotten something that was completely different and totally changed.
Okay. Very nice. So thank you, Jack. I will also ask you to talk about something as a monologue, and this will be the topic. It will be after I talk to Olga. So I will ask you to, if possible, to talk about something you want to do, but you didn't have time for. It's on the screen. So describe something you do regularly that help. Oh my gosh. Yes. let's just start here. So describe something you do regularly that helps you work and study better. Please say what it is, when and where you would do it, how you would do it, and why you want to do it. Okay? This is something I will ask you to speak for a couple of minutes, but after I talk to Olga. Okay? Thanks. Okay, so Olga, I'll try to turn on the microphone for you.
Hello. Hello,
Yes,
do you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Super.
Let's
Hello?
yes, now we can. Let's talk about colors, and you might want to use some specific vocabulary such as a hue, оттенок, perception of colors, a color scheme, цветовая гамма, a combination of colors, and to exclude. Выдавать, передавать оттенок. If you want, I mean, it's just for your lexical resource. So, what's your favorite color?
Oh, my favorite color, I suppose, it's white and blue. Yes, it's two my favorite colors. I usually use these colors in my wear, in interior of my flat, because these colors are fresh and would look with anything.
All right. And what is the most popular color in your country?
In my country, in winter, I suppose that the most popular color are black, because a lot of people wear black jackets, black trousers, and black shoes. A lot of trees without green leaf, and all things are black and gray.
Okay. Do you think colors influence you?
Repeat, please. I didn't hear your question. Repeat, please.
Do you think colors influence you?
I didn't hear your question. Repeat, please. I hear two voices, my voice, and what colors influence to me? Two voices. What colors influence to me?
I will copy the answer in the chat. Oops. No, I couldn't. 1 second.
Yes, of course, colors influence to anybody. I suppose that bright colors make more energy for people. Colors, black colors are more negative and can be a cause of depression, I suppose. Red color, it's color of danger.
Okay.
Red color, color of danger.
All right. So, do you think colors are important?
Yes, colors are important in everywhere, in our food. I know that in winter you should to eat more bright vegetables and fruits. Food without colors, it can help you be more healthy and feel himself more healthy. Colors in our flat influence too much. For example, it's more likely to be in a room with bright color, in a warm color. It's more positive than to be in a room with black and gray walls.
Okay, so were colors important to you when you were a child?
I don't remember my childhood, but I suppose that yes, it was important. Maybe I like dress with a lot of colors, with some flowers, maybe with using
Okay. I'm afraid the sound disappeared. Olga, can you say something? Can others please put a plus in the chat if you can hear me? I cannot hear Olga now. Okay. So Olga, unfortunately, I can't hear you. Can you say something? Can you hear can you also hear Olga? Or is it only me who can't hear her? Okay. Only me. Okay. Right. So there are also questions. What color clothes do you like to wear? Do people in your country like to wear bright colors? And what are the differences between men and women preferences in colors? In color. You can mention expressions like or you can say, for example, the grayscale looks. Oh, yes, Olga? Can you say something? I think now we can hear you.
grayscale looks. Grayscale looks. It's expression I hear first time. Problem with sound. I hear my voice.
It's like gray colors. Оттенки серого.
Problem with sound. I hear my voice.
That's probably because you are not using the headphones, наушники. That's why you hear echo.
I am in headphones.
In order to avoid echo, you need to use headphones. I am in
headphones.
Okay, and I'm in headphones too, so I don't know why this.
Maybe.
Okay, let's try. There are several.
Maybe try without.
Questions. Let's just try to.
Maybe try without.
Maybe okay. We can try.
Grayscale looks.
Okay, so what color would you never use?
No. never used in my home. I suppose it's it's I forget the name of this color. It's I haven't anything brown colors in my home. I don't know why.
Right. And what color would you choose to paint the
White,
walls in your room?
now I have white wall.
And what color would you choose to paint the walls of? Yes, Olga, I can hear you.
Now my car is gray. But if I will buy another car, I suppose it will be maybe two or something bright, for example, red.
Okay, nice. You can also choose.
On the road.
Yeah, you can also choose some bright color at an exam and say that I want to choose this color because my car will be conspicuous. Well, if somebody steals the car, and you can use this expression conspicuous.
My previous
Thank you, Olga.
my previous car was yellow, but it's not helped me.
Okay, I see. Just remember that in the IELTS exam, what is evaluated, it's not information, it's not how true your information is, and so on. What is evaluated is if you're using a less common vocabulary, if you're using a range of grammar constructions. So you don't have to tell the truth. You can actually lie through your teeth. You can actually lie through your teeth in the IELTS exam. So, okay. In the next round, I will ask you to speak about day free from work or study. It's a monologue. It's for 2 minutes. So I will let other people speak now, and So after this, I will ask you to speak. So you will have some time to prepare. At a real exam, you will have 1 minute. Now you will have more. So this is the monologue. Please describe day free from work or study, and describe what you would do what you do if you have a day off. And say where you go, what you do, who you go with, and why you like it. While you're preparing, you can take notes, but please don't write complete sentences. Only notes, words, vocabulary, and so on. Okay. So now I will turn off the microphone for you. Thank you. Right. Let's start with Natalia. Yes. So an activity that is healthy. Describe an activity that you do to keep healthy. What the activity is, when and where you usually do it, how you do it, and how it helps you keep healthy. So please tell me about that.
Okay, it is known that only 10% of how long the person lives depend on genes, and the other 90% depend on our lifestyle. Not only is sport and physical activity important for medical health, but also for well-being. I personally prefer jogging to be in good shape. It allows me to burn fat, strengthen all muscles groups. Thus, 3 times per week, I run in the evenings on the stadium of the nearest school in the evenings. But certainly, firstly, before jogging, I do some light cardiovascular exercises in order to reduce the risk of injury and prepare my body for more rigorous exercises. If I didn't do jogging, I wouldn't be able to stay fit and burn all calories, and it's really essential for me because I'm crazy about sweets, cakes, candies, and chocolates.
Okay, right. How to say? Я не могу не съесть конфетку, когда я ее вижу.
I forgot it.
I can't help eating. You can't never see.
Yes, I can't help eating.
Right. Okay. А я и не знала, что бег такой полезный. Сначала. А я и не знала, что бег такой полезный.
I have no idea that jogging is so useful.
Okay, little did I know that. It's a special expression with inversion. Little did I know that jogging was so healthy. So I would recommend to memorize this expression because you can use it virtually in every task 2 card. Little did for example, а я и не знала, что мой дедушка умеет делать искусственное дыхание. You can talk about anything because there was a situation when somebody helped someone, and so it's a very useful expression. Okay. Very nice. Okay, thank you, Natalia. Now I will ask Vitaly the same topic. Okay, Vitaly, can you say something?
Yes.
Right, so we're ready to listen to your stories.
Okay, activity for health. I would like to say about walking. I believe that walking is a good form of exercise and requires physical efforts than regular forms of exercise. And I prefer run regularly every morning because it keeps my body fit. And walking has a wide range of health benefits. For instance, first of all, it makes a lot of people fit, and the most important thing is that people who walk don't need others' instrument to perform the work. Moreover, it's useful and convenient to all ages of people. And on top of that, there is no preset speed or distance except for walking. Talking about me, absolutely, I usually take a walk in the early hours of the day and take, as I said, every day. Talking about walking exercise as exercise for health, we know that walking is the best form of exercise for heart of people. And I think that you well thought about it, and in fact, walking does need specific goals and perform their, as I said, benefits. When you get the work done in the morning, you, I mean regularly, you can have a healthy beginning of the day, and then when for instance, when you go out for the you have change and also opportunity to breathe in the fresh air. And talking about adventures, absolutely, I'm sure that morning surrounding environment is calm and quiet, and in this time we don't have traffic sounds on the road, and everything remains silent, and this is a main reason I walk in the morning. And in conclusion, I like to say the morning walk is helping me to great extent to maintain my fitness level. I have been walking for around, and I have been walking, and also I have been running around 10 years. 10 years, and I'd like to say, and absolutely I'm sure that my voice is under control. I find this is the best reason to walking, and I constantly advise this exercise my friends.
Okay. Thank you, Vitaly. But please don't start your sentences with "and." I think most of your sentences begin with "and."
Okay.
So you need to try to avoid it, because cohesion. This is 25% of your score, and it will be really important. Okay. Thank you. Now, Olga, I will ask you to tell us about a day free from work or study. I'll try to turn on the microphone for you. And let me try again.
Yuri? Yuri?
So we're ready to listen. Yes, yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Can you repeat, please? Because I prepared to the topic of what I want to do when I have a free time. Yes, no?
Yes, okay. So please tell us what you have prepared.
I prepared a topic about my spending of free time. Can I tell you about this?
We're ready. Also, we're waiting.
When I have a free time, I'd like to go to swimming pool because it can feel me rested and refreshed. After it, often I go to cafe and have a cup of coffee and piece of cake because sweets are my weakness. Also, I can move to the shopping mall, buying something for me or my family. Another way of spending my free time is reading or watching TV. This is all can help me escape from my daily routine and help me to relax. Um, Also, it helped me to relieve the stress and re-exchange my batteries.
To recharge my batteries. Very good. Okay, so
Usually, problem with sounds.
but we can hear you. Is there anything else you want to say?
I don't hear Yuri.
Okay, is there anything else you want to say?
Yes, because problem with sounds, and I don't know what to edit for this because I hear your voice, my voice, and it's not.
Okay, third opinion. I understand. All right. So I will turn off the microphone for you then. Right. So it was your first attempt, and you need to develop the skill of being able to speak for 2 minutes on a on a topic that is not familiar for you. Well, actually, if you're going to take the exam from January to April within this period, we know exactly all the topics. There are about 52, 53 topics. So that's what we prepare during our lessons. And it means you will have vocabulary ideas and so on to use here. On top of that, you need to use some specific grammar constructions because you are speaking quite simple language now, which is okay for the first time, but you can do better. For instance, you could have added a conditional sentence by saying that if I didn't work so much, I wouldn't need to relax. I wouldn't need the rest so much. It means besides present simple and past simple, you also use a conditional sentence. Or you could use some, for example, some modal verb with perfect infinitive, like it must have been 2 years since I last had my holiday. So must have been, I use a modal verb with perfect infinitive. So that's also an advanced construction. So little by little, that's what we're going to study during our course. All right, and let's also ask Jack to tell us about something that he does regularly that helps him work or study better. Okay, I'm trying to turn on the microphone for you. Can you please say something? Okay, Jack, let me try again. Oh, no, we can't hear you yet. Can you say something now?
I'm talking right now. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Can you please start again because we couldn't before?
Oh, yeah, no worries. Okay. So I should describe something I do to study?
Yes, so right here is it's on the screen actually. Describe
Okay, yeah,
something you do regularly that helps you.
Okay. One thing that I usually do when I want to study and I want to get work done and I want to progress is that I usually try and, go to a place that's very isolated, where I don't have a lot of people around me and talking with me. So usually I won't go to like a library. I'll just like stay home or maybe go to a friend's house and I will just put on some headphones, listen to music, and try and focus completely on studying and figuring out the topic material I have for a class or whatever it may be that I'm studying. So usually I listen to music, like an entire album of music. I'll listen to 13 or 14 songs and I'll just completely focus on whatever I'm trying to do. Like for finals, I had 3-hour finals, so I had where I took my headphones and my laptop and I just stayed in my room. And for 3 hours, all I did was just completely focus on writing my paper, getting it correctly, figuring out what I wanted to say, and just totally zoning out from everything else. Kind of just relaxing and performing as best as I felt I could on the exam.
All right. Is this all?
Yeah, I guess I could describe why I do it. Well, usually I do it because that it allows me to intensely focus on a single task, a single job that I have to do. And when I can just focus on a single thing, then I can perform a lot better because I don't have distractions. I don't have things that are, taking my time away. Say if I had a dog that I need to go let out, that would take up like 3 minutes of my time because I have to go let him out, let him in, and it stops me from thinking about what I'm trying to think about and prevents me from, maintaining a state of mind that can allow for me to achieve more than I usually would.
All right. So thanks a lot, Jack.
No problem.
So thank you all for participation. If there are any questions, feel free to write them in chat.